Welcome back to the home build. Today we're going to be talking about final inspections so that we can move in. We're right down to that last bit of things to do so that we can move in. So certain inspections that got to be done right there at the end is the plumbing inspection, the HVAC, which is the heating, cooling inspection, the electrical inspection, and then final building. So that's the process for this home build. So starting off with your final plumbing. So final plumbing, the water heater's got to be in, the sink's got to be in, the toilet's got to be in and caulked. All the fixtures like the sink's got to be running, operating, and caulked. So when I say that, I emphasize caulking. That is a big part of it. So that's things that they're going to be looking at and that sort of thing. So let's I'll show you some good quality jobs. So right in here we got our double sinks, needs to be caulked, and this is done well. Drives me absolutely insane when there's not a good caulk job going on and around. So 100% silicone, done well, sealed. The plumbers, what they should be doing is doing their tests, which is filling it up, should be full, and the duration while they're there at the work, checking for underneath to see if there's any leaks or anything like that. The inspector is going to be looking underneath to make sure everything's hooked up, so which it was, and that sort of thing. The toilets, in this case, they did clear silicone going around, which is fine. I personally like white silicone in this application, but that works. So toilets are in. Also shower valves, looking to see if those are in, so which everything was good. The seal, so his plumber's putty down on the bottom, that was done, and then from there the inspector is going to most likely move into looking at the water heater and check, make sure that that's in, plumbed in, two code strapped. It has to be strapped seismically to the wall in 2 spots. That is by code. And in our case, since it's down in the garage, there has to be a bollard. And that bollard is a steel post or steel pipe coming out of the concrete. And that's so if, you know, somebody fell asleep or something when they're driving in, not paying attention, they don't run into the water heater and cause something to happen. So once that was completed, all the fixtures, the sink, the toilets, the kitchen sinks, and that sort of thing, all hooked up, tested, and showers, and all good, they call in for the inspection to get that passed, which it passed. So then you move on to the next one. So the next inspection was the HVAC. And HVAC, the heating, cooling, here we have a electric heat pump. So we got a evaporative cooler on the outside, a little box unit that's on the outside going every now and again, and then we got the piece on the inside. So for our house, I like central air. And central air, what that means is we got a unit here in the closet, which is what you've seen before in other videos. So this has got to be all plumbed in, hooked up, ready to go. It isn't really turned on yet because the electrical quite hasn't been done yet, but all the ducting has been sealed, which is important, and that sort of thing. On the outside's done, as well as our water heater is gas, so the ducting, I'll go down and I'll show you that, but the ducting has to be inspected for that, for our final mechanical and that sort of thing. The condensate, so when the air conditioner is going, it's going to pull a little bit of moisture out of the air. So there's a condensate line. So here we got the condensate line. It goes downstairs and then into the laundry room, and there's a spot where that comes out. Way back, that was an area where it was just dangling in the wall, and I was repeatedly calling the builder to come out. You need to take care of this, because they were getting so close to covering up with sheetrock. And that's an area I didn't want. You can't have it just draining right into your wall cavity. That'd be super bad. So got that changed, got that fixed, so it's actually going into a drain. Let's go have a look. All right, so right here is behind the washing machine. This is our condensate line going through, and that plug was there for testing, so it got pulled out, and now it can just drain straight out. This time of year, we're in heating phase, so not a whole lot of condensation can be coming out. But in the summer, when we start running the AC, we'll probably see that drip every now and again. So another thing for code for our actually, I really do not like this code, but for code for mechanical, you got to have a vent for the laundry room. I like the vent, but what I don't like about it is that it runs all the time, and it's on a motion. So what we got here is we got a little motion sensor up here. So every time you walk into the room, it kicks on and ramps up. When we're not here, it ramps back down, which is nice, but it's just that continuous running. I don't know, it's just something I don't like about it. This house isn't so sealed up to the point where I feel like we need it. Heck, but then if we didn't have it, maybe it would be a little more stinky air. I don't know. Maybe it's a good thing. That's why they make these codes, right? So also for our final mechanical inspections, we got to have all our covers on. So for here, they actually have directional venting to point the air the direction that we want. As far as the sound, if you heard way back during the rough mechanical, I was concerned about sound. It's not too bad, and partly because I have sound insulation in between the floors. We got about 18 inches of insulation up in the attics and that sort of thing. But what I have noticed that it's kind of irritating is on the return in the master. So I'll walk over here to the return in the master. Right up here, so we got a 12 by 12 return for our master bedroom, and every time that it kicks on, it sucks that vent up and it goes ka-clunk, and every time it turns off, it goes ka-clunk as it falls back down. So that's an area where it's just kind of irritating. I like vents like this, or excuse me, filters. So I like the filters at the start of the return. They're easy access, and also some mechanical units are up in the attics, which that's a code that's changing. No longer can they be up in attics. They're hard to get to those filters. With it being right here at the beginning, all that ducting is going to stay nice and clean because it's filtered air and not dirty air going into the ducting and that sort of thing. So there's another allergy-friendly thing that I like about this. Not so much the eyesore of it, but what I could do though is paint it to match the ceilings. Kind of makes it blend in a little bit better, and that's probably what I'm going to be doing eventually. You can see here in the bathrooms, we got fart fans are going. That's what I call them, but it's just the venting for the bathrooms, get that moisture out. The inspector will be looking at that, making sure that that's hooked up and good, down to a switch. The nice thing is having these multiple timer switches, which is really nice. Got good flow, good to get that moisture out, which in the Northwest, mold's a problem. Mold's our enemy, and so having good vent is important. So, and everything's trimmed out. All right, here's our water heater. It's gas water heater. You can see the strapping, that is by code. Also right here, we got our bollard. Okay, that's what that is. I need to cap that. Kids are gonna be throwing all kinds of stuff in there. And then for our mechanical, that's gotta be installed for our final mechanical, which it is. Goes up the roof. You wanna look at that, look at the rough mechanical video that I have made, and you'll see that. But I had them move this water heater. So they had the water heater right here. Made no sense. It was not on the plans right there. On the plans it made, it was over here in the corner like it should be. And we have this bollard, you know, where it's supposed to be. They kind of the plumbers fought us on this, but if they would have left it there when we came to the final inspection, they would have failed it because this bollard was here and not over somewhere else 3 feet further where they had it. Made no sense having it right here for me, because just having this area open for my gym, I don't want to show you the rest of the messy garage, but it made no sense on the set of plans. It showed it right here. They even should have put it right there, just frankly because it was on the set of plans. And all the plumbing back in the framing stage could have been real easy, because they came up right here inside the framing and out like it should have been. Instead, this is what I got as far as this ugly surface piping. At the time when I told them to move it, they said, hey, it's going to be on the surface. Well, I knew that it could have been fixed. It could have been done right the way it should have, but we needed to move in. So it was like, move it over either way. The other thing is, this is my heating, or my hot line, cold line. You know, this should get, somebody with some craftsmanship should be insulating this. Put some dang insulation over it to help with that little bit of heat loss that's in that line. There are ideas that, well, you're in a garage and that sort of thing. To code, I guess apparently it's fine, but is it right? You know. Anyhow, that's just my opinion. But so I'll come back later and I'll put some dang insulation on that, and that sort of thing. Water heater. So it's been running. It feels good, nice and hot. So so far so good. Where the line comes in down here at the bottom, so through the concrete, that needs to get caulked. That is something that the inspector did call out and say for the mechanical. All right, out here where the condenser is. So a heat pump, how it works, it switches from condenser to heat pump. So the inside will become the condenser at certain times of the year. Other times of the year, this is the condenser. So anyhow, all hooked up. That's what the inspector wants to see, that it's all hooked up, which it is. And then the next thing that happens will be the electrical, that we'll talk about next. But the mechanical goes in, gets that inspection, and then we can get our electrical inspection. They won't do the electrical until certain things are all hooked up so they can run their lines. So the second to last inspection is the final electrical inspection. They hook it all up. They got a breaker out here, okay, and so that the maintenance, when they're doing maintenance, they can work on it. I believe it's within 20 feet. You got to also have an outlet. So we had to add this because the distance to the nearest other outlet was too far. So we added this for that. So that all has to tie in for an inspection. So, all right. Now, as far as final electrical goes. So, as you might recall from previous videos, I pulled a second permit and I did a lot of electrical myself. So since I'm the homeowner, I can do electrical under a permit, of course, and do a certain amount of work myself. So I was able to do that, complete it, and call for the inspection. So in order to do my final electrical, I had to have both electrical permits finished, or both portions of the work finished to call in for that electrical. Had to call in for 2 permits for their finals, and they came out and did 1 inspection and looked at everything. So making sure everything, like say exterior outlets are weathered in, and GFCI. All the exposed boxes on the outside, such as the security lights, are all hooked up and going. As far as the exterior lighting has been installed and that sort of thing, and as well as there on the other side of the house, there's some other boxes that had to be installed, finished up, weathered in for our permit. So now we're going to go inside and look at that. So the electrical inspector is going to be looking at to see everything's, all the outlets, such as your dryer outlet, so 240, your switches, 3-ways, they'll come through, test every switch, make sure all the trim's on. So here we got all the trim plates on and that sort of thing. Seeing if certain areas such as the bathrooms, the laundry rooms, all of the garage, and that sort of thing. And all the exterior outlets are all on GFCI breakers like this, okay? The next thing that they're also going to be checking is to see that the lighting and the outlets for all the livable areas, such as the bedrooms, living rooms, and that sort of thing, are on what a breaker called an arc fault breaker. So I'll go show you that. All right, so what we got right here is our arc fault breakers. Here's your regular breakers. So your garage and certain other ones don't have to be. Check with your local codes to see what it calls for. They suck, I hate them. But as all electricians say, they hate them because when you go to put in a motor of any type, you know, blow dryer, certain things, a lot of times they trip and they're a pain in the butt. But we got to have it for code. It's all derived from safety, and that's more important than every now and again something tripping. So we have that. They checked that, making sure that's good. Way back during the rough-in, they checked for grounding, so they know that that's good. All right, here's my half bath. Plumbing's been done. See right here, so this doesn't look like it's a GFCI, but this particular one is going to be tied back into an area, another bathroom, where it is on a GFCI. So you only need one GFCI, and then everything downstream of that GFCI is, if it's installed correctly, is GFCI protected. So the inspector should be coming out here, checking things, make sure they're hooked up right, making sure you're not crossing the black and the white conductors and that sort of thing. So they test that, see if that's good. So which it was, everything's been passed. But I will show you one thing on the electrician side that was not passed. All the rough-in that I installed was done correctly and passed, but I'll show you something that you need to pay attention to, and it's in the closets. All right, so time and time again in the closets, in particular walk-in closets, because they're the ones that have the lights, there's a code, and you're from your fixture 18 inches to that back wall. It needs to have that clearance. Well, they had a light similar to this one up here. I call it a boob light, and because, you know, for obvious reasons. That's what was up in here, and it was around 16 inches from that back wall to the edge of it. It's not to the center of it like some people think. So he gave me the option. He's like, hey, you can either move it, which would create another hole and that sort of thing, or put in a can light, which then gave me that clearance. Got it right around 19 inches from that back wall to the light. And so I did that late in the evening, got that done, so then I could call in for that inspection, because it was all happening, all these inspections were happening within about 5 days. And so that was one area that I didn't want to have to wait a week, 2 weeks for somebody to come out, fix, patch, all that sort of thing before we can call in for a final electrical. So got that taken care of. So keep an eye out for those sorts of things. You have measurements. More's better. Hey, they could have had that light fixture way over here and have been just fine. So when it came to low voltage, they don't check low voltage. So for cable coming in, there's no inspection for that. So with them dangling out like that, because eventually there'll be a TV mounted here, all that stuff could get pushed back into the wall. Not an area that they do inspect. Over here in this area, there was planned for a desk and that sort of thing, or TV for a different option. And so sometimes my wife doesn't like it, but you know, at the time I put in more extra stuff just for other options. If I wanted a TV here and it wasn't there after sheetrock's on, it's really a pain. On you might be more invasive, tearing sheetrock apart to get it there. So we went ahead and did that. Area that it's not getting inspected. All right, now with the plumbing inspection, the mechanical inspection, electrical inspection, all taken care of and done. The last inspection, and which they won't do until those 3 are done, is the final building. So on the final building, they're going to be walking through to take a look at kind of just about everything that everybody else did, just making sure as far as the plumber, electrician, mechanical, making sure everything works, is running. One thing that they did fail me on was that the dishwasher wasn't fastened. Let's go look at that. Got that fastened. It's anchored. So right under here is, it's got to have these anchors, which I did after and called in for that. Or actually just took pictures of it and showed them, and they came out and they were happy with it. By the way, Kitchenaid Dishwasher is super quiet. It's awesome. This isn't sponsored by Kitchenaid, by the way. So they did look at that. The other thing that they look and test is your smoke detectors. So you got to have one in your living area. Got to have one in all the bedrooms. Not in a moisture environment, so no bathrooms, no laundry room, that sort of thing. And they got to be certain distances. So, you know, check with your codes, local codes about that. From this smoke detector to this wall had to be less than 15 feet, and it was right at 14 feet, like the minimum. So that got passed. And that sort of thing, and they're all linked. So when he presses one, they all go off. That is a code for new construction. For older construction, since you can't have access to wiring up in it, as long as you have smoke detectors and smoke detector and carbon monoxide detectors in those areas, you're fine. But new construction, they all have to be linked together. So. Also, thermostat has to be installed, which, holy cow, with construction, without this installed, our electric bill was $1,200 one month. And that was that last month when they'd have everything opened up because it was way too darn hot, but yet it was like 35 degrees, 40 degrees outside, and our electric bill was insane. So, super happy now that this is in, it can control it, turn it off, that sort of thing, a little easier. Back to the final building. So those are the main things that they're going to check. The other, to get your actual certificate of occupancy, which is what you need to have in order to move in. And some of the paperwork that you need to have is a moisture content certification paper, where basically the builder signs a waiver saying it is within a certain tolerance of your moisture, which I believe in our area is 17%. We were right around 15% or less at the time when we covered it up with sheetrock. So I actually bought a separate tester, which I recommend every homeowner do, to go around to all your bottom plates and poke that to make sure that you have adequate moisture. You don't want somebody covering up with higher than 17%, or that, which is code. I think it should be more like 12, 15%, which you can get it there before you cover it up. Otherwise, you're gonna have mold in your walls. That's something you don't want. So that's a moisture content certification paper. The other now is your high efficiency lighting. So all the lighting that for new construction has to be LED. So such as we got LED can lights, any other fixtures is all LED. Don't buy them the two different colors. Say hi, kids.
Hi.
And that sort of thing. So everything's LED, as energy efficient as we can. Why would you not go with LED anymore? It's just archaic. So that paper, high efficiency lighting. So there's two. Exterior wall envelope approval. So in my opinion, there should be another inspection on inspecting the your WRB, weather resistant barrier, on the outside of the house, which includes your window install. That's the most critical part of the house, yet they don't inspect it. They see that it's there, but they don't inspect the process of installing it. That's what I think there should be. Yes, it's going to be more money, but those are all areas where you're going to have rot, mold, and it could be as little as less than a year. Usually it's after your warranty's up when you start having those problems, and that's not an area where we want. That paper, exterior wall envelope approval, is to certify that they guarantee it, the builder. Those are areas where I signed it so that we can move on. I inspected it because I'm a carpenter, been a carpenter for 23 years. I inspect to make sure it was done right. And frankly, I've done a lot of it because it wasn't being done correctly to my satisfaction. So those 3, and then the contractor information paper. So they need to, the city or county needs that piece of paper that tells who the builder is, who the electrician was, who the plumber was, and then who the HVAC company is, their addresses, their licensing, all that sort of thing. And then once those are all complete, turned in, and all the inspection goes well, then you get your certificate of occupancy and you can move in. So, that's a bunch. Hopefully you can kind of learn. So I don't have any tiling. I don't have a lot of these other specialty things that they would be inspecting. So if you had a tiled shower, you got to have an inspector check to see, because you got to fill it up with water and plug the drain and let it sit to see if that water level goes down. If it's going down, that means you have a leak somewhere and it's failing. So that would have been an inspection that I would have had to do if I had that sort of thing. Something that they did do was fill up the tubs. So plug the drain, fill up the tubs during that rough-in inspection to see if there's any leaks underneath it. So that already was taken care of. So again, for final building, those little pieces of paper that you need was the moisture content certification, high efficiency lighting, your exterior wall envelope approval, and then, which is basically the builder's guaranteeing it, and then also your contractor information sheet. So then we got our C of O. So we did that all within 5 days, which is great for all those inspections. We got our certificate of occupancy, and once that happened, then we were able to move in. With the builder, there's a little more use. Most builders, you sign another paper allowing you to move in and that sort of thing. So we did that, and here we are, moved in the process and that sort of thing. But hopefully you enjoyed. This has been a kind of a long time coming. It's been almost right at a year now since I broke ground. So it's pretty excited. It's been an interesting process. If you ask me, would I do it again? Yeah, I would, actually, because I'm a carpenter. Now, here's the other thing. Most people going through this particular process, when we had like over 4 months of delays, it takes a toll on certain people. And yet, as a carpenter, these are things that I understand. I see every day on construction sites, in management. It's part of the process. Unfortunately, with good management, it's not like that. Poor management happens every time. So let's see. I think that about wraps everything up. And for your final inspections, so we can move in. So there will be more videos to come on other projects. Still got a whole laundry list of projects, so stay tuned for those other things. If you like the videos that I make sure you press the like button. Please subscribe if you're liking what you see. It really helps me out, makes me know that you like what you see, and leave some comments if you want to see other things. So, like always, look forward to see you next time. Be safe out there, and everything that you do, wear all your protective equipment, even at home, because it matters. That way you continue doing all these fun things. So I'll see you next time on The Home Build.